Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Doris Cinema, and today I'm joined by two very good friends of mine, Connor
Hello.
and Mike.
Hello, shit.
Shit. Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm a very big fan of Doctor Who, and Connor, Mike, and I have been watching very closely this last season of Doctor Who, and the finale, the second part of the finale, just just aired. So we finally got a chance to watch it, and we're just gonna sit down and talk about the two-parter, Heaven Sent and Hell Bent. So just makes sense that we just go on for Heaven Sent at this point. What did you guys think of Heaven Sent? If Connor wants to give a brief synopsis of Heaven Sent,
Sure.
how would you
Um,
describe it to my viewers?
um, it's basically the Doctor is reeling from losing Clara, his companion, when she died at the end of the previous episode, episode 10,
Face the Raven.
Face the Raven, yeah. And he's sent to a place. He's sent to a place by Ashilda, played by Maisie Williams, at the request of a group of people that she made a deal with, and it's basically in the form of a constantly transforming castle that is, in short, really a torture chamber. And the episode is just him on his own with like an actor underneath the veil. Coincidentally, the monster in the episode is called the Veil. And it's basically just rooms upon rooms of the Doctor's worst nightmares. The mysterious group of people, which is later revealed to be the Time Lords, that they plucked from his memory, and they set him a array of challenges in which he has to reach room 12 in the castle, which is it's kind of the gateway back to Gallifrey, his home world, that's been lost in another pocket universe for 2 years now, worth of the show's time, and and he's trapped in there for, as it's later revealed in Hellbent, 4.5 billion years. Constantly, he's like having to go through the entire castle repeatedly, trying to break down this wall that I think it was said was 10 times harder than diamond.
And he's using his bare fist.
Yeah, using his bare fist. And then, if you multiplied that once by 4.5 billion times, he eventually breaks down the wall, and at the end of the episode, it's basically revealed that he's back on Gallifrey. He's found Gallifrey. He's gone the long way around, and the series arc is almost semi-solved, which is it's revealed that he's the hybrid that was hinted at in the second episode of the series, that was supposed to be half Dalek, half Time Lord, but the prophecy told that it was only two warrior races. I mean, the Time Lords and the Daleks made assumptions that it was a combination of both their races, but it was actually, assuming going by the show's history and what we know, is that the Doctor's half human on his mother's side. So, in a way, he's kind of, as he states, he's the hybrid. So yeah, that's the episode, really.
Yeah. One thing that really stood out to me in that episode was Capaldi really solidified just how great of an actor he was. Like, I don't think I've appreciated him as the Doctor this much. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge fan of David Tennant. He was my first Doctor, and he is my favorite Doctor. Not for the fanboy reasons, actually. When I started watching Doctor Who, that was during Series 6, I believe, is when I started watching. At the start of Series 6 is when I had gotten into Doctor Who, and that was actually only by watching David Tennant. I had not watched any of Matt Smith's episodes until about halfway through Series 7, I think. And I never really, I thought Capaldi was okay. He wasn't like terrific in my mind. This episode really showed how amazing he can be. It's just him on his own. His star power really had to pull the whole episode along. It's just him talking more so to the audience in some respects. I think my favorite part of the episode was just every moment where it looked like he was about to die, it just cuts right to the TARDIS interior, and he's explaining how he's going to get out of it. And it makes you wonder, does he do this all the time?
Yeah. I think that the key part of this episode is the Doctor. It's like, I think Capaldi's performance is like his greatest yet. Could be his greatest ever.
Yeah, I know. The thing about this episode I noticed was the nuance of his performance, like the subtleties. When you like watch the way that he acted throughout the whole episode, the slightest little mannerisms, like his glances, the way he looked down, looked up, different things, really conveyed a lot. I noticed in watching this episode. So yeah, it was pretty solid for me.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. His body language showed more than he could actually say. And for a Doctor that really doesn't convey emotion, at least through dialogue, very well. We're looking at you, cue cards. Essentially what you just said, Mike, that's how he conveys, that's how we can tell how he's feeling. It's not through the way he speaks, it's just through the way he moves, through the way he acts. It's even when you think he looks happy, you know that he's just hiding something at this point.
Yeah. And actually, Capaldi in this episode very much reminded me of Tom Baker, actually. I kept hearing Tom Baker's voice when Capaldi talked in this episode, and I was very much reminded of The Deadly Assassin, of course, which was
I was
Gallifrey.
just about to say that I think if I had to liken this episode to anything in Doctor Who history, particularly Classic Who, I'd say that this is probably like an extended version of Episode 3 of The Deadly Assassin, where the Doctor's coincidentally trapped in the Matrix, as he was here, and he's having to fight Chancellor Goth, who is posing as an all-mannerism of things, such as sort of gunslinger sort of guy, a surgeon I think he is at one point, and then at the end he tries to drown the Doctor.
Why do you bring up Gunslinger? Because that's exactly how Hellbent felt. Didn't Hellbent feel like a spaghetti western, though?
The first like half an hour, 20 minutes I'd say did.
Yes. It was very reminiscent of a one of those like Clint Eastwood, as you say, spaghetti westerns.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Like literally, Clint Eastwood came right to my mind.
Well, especially when Capaldi walked out to the ship and drew a line with the heel of his boot, and then just turned around and walked away. It was very much reminiscent of The Man with No Name that Eastwood portrayed in a lot of those Sergio Leone westerns. The as we say, like Fistful of Dollars, Good, the Bad, the Ugly, those kind of films.
I kind
Very
of
reminiscent of them.
I thought that I knew before the episode aired that there was going to be a sort of silent 10 minutes in a way, where
Yeah.
hardly anyone spoke, particularly Capaldi, who was pretty much muted for 10 minutes after the main titles. And I thought that, after having an episode where it's kind of like just two characters, the Doctor and the Veil, going into Hellbent, I thought that it might get on my nerves a bit more this week. But I actually thought that the way he acted during that 10 minutes was something completely different, because like every sort of eyebrow movement, every turn, every walking sequence, everything just kind of felt like something new, and you could really sort of tell how pissed off he was, because I think there was a certain point where he was kind of he realized that he was, as did everyone else. I mean, particularly when he was up against the firing squad and they all kind of surrendered their weapons when Rassilon ordered for the Doctor to be killed. He kind of realized that now he's the man that's in charge of Gallifrey. The whole planet's his. Everyone's gonna respect him. He's the war hero. And kind of like when he came back to the planet and he went in the barn, and then the woman, which was from Listen, came in as well and noticed who it was. Just the looks on his face throughout that whole 10 minutes, just the sort of emotion that he kind of conveyed through his movements and stuff, just that. There was sort of like an unsettling anger somewhere.
I felt very tense.
Yeah, it was very, very tense.
It felt like literally it's like at the drop of a hat something was going to explode. That's how it felt.
Yeah, and then like when he called in the reinforcements and you realise that, the Doctor's got control of the entire of Gallifrey, you sort of realise then just like how amazing that sequence was in particular.
I was shocked that the president was revealed to be Rassilon. I mean, we didn't know exactly who the president was until a little bit later when he revealed it himself, but I don't know. I'm going to be honest, here's one of my very few criticisms about the episode. I would have loved it too if they had Timothy Dalton back.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, actually.
I really wanted Timothy Dalton back as Rassilon.
Well, the problem with Rassilon in this is that he was so wasted. He was in it for like 10 minutes, and half of that time he spent acting like a tantruming child.
Yeah, he seemed a bit of a weak character.
Yeah,
other than like throwing a tantrum. Like
but I think they're just using him now because, as they said in the episode, or at the end of the universe, there's not many other places he can go. I think that's leaving the door open for Rassilon to come back as a villain. Probably not for the next season or two, but I guarantee you we have not seen the last of him.
And just how easily the Doctor kind of overpowered him, just by taking away his entire army. It was just a bit too easy.
You think that there should have been more of a fight?
Yeah, like Rassilon should have. I mean, Rassilon's like one of the most powerful Time Lords in eternity. He always will be, and he's like one of the Doctor's sort of most. Well, I think it's kind of like a mutual hatred between the two of them. The fact that he was just there in some sort of. And this is no criticism of the actor, just kind of like an old, frail man, just having a tantrum in the middle of a desert, the middle of the wastelands, as it was referred to. It just wasn't Rassilon. It was, if it was the general or someone, the sort of bald guy.
I think you're trying to say like it kind of took away from his prestige of who Rassilon should be portrayed as, right?
Yeah, like I didn't even get the point of him being in the episode, apart from questioning why the Doctor, what the Doctor was doing. I mean, that's basically all he was saying. Is like he was asking everyone what the Doctor was doing because he couldn't work it out himself.
I think all of that, what transpired in the episode itself, actually could have been achieved, kind of like circumventing even having Rassilon in the episode itself.
Yeah. There was no purpose for him. He was just there to illustrate that, I assume that Gallifrey was kind of back to its sort of former, prestige, its former mighty, glorious empire, like it was, before the Time War. Like, with Rassilon at the head, again, it's sort of like, that's all it was there to illustrate, and then that was it. And it was just a waste of time.
Then we got, there were nice callbacks to the 50th anniversary, as we were saying, the barn from the 50th anniversary, which we also, I believe that was, we saw that in Listen.
Yeah.
That was really neat, because they had everything right where it should have been from the 50th, which I thought was pretty cool. But, because I could even, like, as the Doctor was walking through the barn, I could imagine the TARDIS, I could imagine the Doctor sitting down, the War Doctor sitting down. I could see the moment which was personified as Rose. I could see that pretty much in my mind when he walked in. And then you also have the General, which we saw. Interesting twist about that later on. We'll discuss it when we get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I don't know if that was meant to be fan service, but why he went right back to that barn. But again, it's that whole thing with Rassilon. It felt really, it was nice, but it felt really out of place.
Well, I got to tell you, even with that going on with Rassilon, I still thought that no spoilers here until we actually get to speaking of things specifically, but overall, the episode itself, I loved 2/3 of it. I thought that 1/3 of it was like, okay. And where we are right now happens to be where I think it was like really good. I really like this. I like the fact that, what we've been speaking of, we had a Doctor that Capaldi, for like the first 10 minutes, as we've discussed here, was basically silent, and he was like just carrying his presence throughout the episode, and that was awesome. And the whole thing with the guards, the Gallifreyan guards, the General, Rassilon showing up, all that stuff, all that drama, that was all really cool. I thought that was great, something new that we haven't really seen at all. For like, well, I say it all. I mean, we haven't seen it for like a long time.
Yeah.
And that was awesome, I thought. So I love that. I mean, I was like completely quiet, like watching the episode, and really, I was really in sync with what was going on with the episode. And there have been some episodes this series where I've kind of been, for the most part, plugged into what's going on, but maybe I've been, doing some work on the side while I've been watching it in the background or whatever. But I actually watched this episode. I was like, wow, I was really plugged in with what was going on with this. So I enjoyed watching.
Definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I've finished. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think it's definitely
there may be a delay on here for like a second or two, so I was done talking. So
definitely an improvement over Death in Heaven.
Yeah, well, apart from the exclusion of a particular time lady, that's.
Yeah. We all know of your we'll just call it admiration Let's see. We'll leave it at that. Don't even get this guy started on Michelle Gomez, people. I
Well,
will say though, out of last season, Darkwater was pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was.
So that part of the finale was good, but calling one part of a two-parter finale good, still that's a 50. In this case, both Heaven Sent and Hellbent were fantastic. So yeah,
well,
we have,
I got to tell you, like 2 seasons of Capaldi thus far, I'll take that over Matt Smith's most mediocre episodes any day of the week. I mean, like Smith, not really my favorite Doctor. I mean, he's all right, but he was really let down by writing. There was a lot of really crap writing, and there were a lot of episodes of his that I could like never even bother with watching again. Capaldi really, I'm a classic Who fan. Capaldi has really kind of brought back that gravitas of the old classic series of what the Doctor really is about as a character. And I know like 3 of us have talked about this ad infinitum with things, but I'm glad to see Capaldi is starting to really kind of fall into like being the Doctor. Like you see him as the Doctor. Like this is the Doctor. He's not like the actor playing the part.
Yeah.
He's actually the Doctor. You respect him in the role now, and I think that that you know. I will go so far as to say that I think that even the writing has kind of let him down a little bit, but Capaldi's a brilliant actor, and when the writing is syncing up with the storyline and everything's really like a go as far as like these episodes, they are classic. They're great. I mean, you watch like Listen, you watch like this episode. I mean, I thought it was great. Capaldi like really shines, and he really, if the writing is there, he really has the makings of being one of the best Doctors ever in the whole franchise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, yeah, it was when Capaldi came on, it was very polarizing to a lot of people because they really didn't know what to make of it because, you know, there was this youthful energy. I mean, say what you will about Matt Smith, and, you know, Matt Smith isn't my favorite Doctor either, but there was this energy that Matt Smith had that a lot of people were like, oh, we're going to a much older man now. How is this going to transition well? And to be honest, the show really didn't stay the same when Matt Smith left and Capaldi took over. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all.
I would say it's a good thing. It got back to what the show's really about, and it got away from like the fangirls. You know, like this contingent of like Who fans that have come in that thought that like the show's all about like a soap opera romance between the female companion and the Doctor. That's not what the show's about.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I've got no holding back about making that statement clear. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, you know, on any level, I'm glad that you're a fan, but you can't like come in at some point and go, oh, well, I'm like a little hipster girl and I want to watch Doctor Who, and I'm like, whatever, like 16 years old, and I love Matt Smith, I got a crush on him, and oh my God, this guy Peter Capaldi, he's an old man, and blah 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 blah. You know, like fuck off. You know, like stop watching the show because that's not what the show is about.
Yeah.
The show has an ongoing history, and it's about a specific thing, and it's not a soap opera for teeny bopper girls like Twilight.
Yeah, to be honest, like I started to notice a bit where you were coming from when Matt Smith took over. I know you kind of lump in Tennant with that, but it wasn't as prevalent after Series 2 ended because
hey David, I like Tennant. I really do.
Oh, okay.
I think Tennant. I really like Tennant. Eccleston was great. Tennant, I really liked where he was going with things, but it seemed like in mainly like his fourth series. Well, I mean fourth series, season 4, right? That it seemed like the hipster girls were kind of taking over, where it was kind of like, oh, I've got a crush on David Tennant. I wish I had a Time Lord that would take me away and travel around in time and space, and that sort of Twilight bullshit. It's like that's not what this show is about. Doctor Who's about hardcore science fiction concepts, and that's why you have people like Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson, people who are brilliant scientists who are fans of Doctor Who, not romance fans who are pining away for having their own, early 30s Time Lord to take them away to some romance bullshit fantasy world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice though that we get I see this Doctor. If I imagine Capaldi's Doctor actually existing, he would be I don't know if I would call him the grandfather, because I usually reserve that for the first Doctor as an eccentric grandfather. How would you describe this Doctor?
I would describe him as the perfect hybrid of past Doctors. He's a bit of everything. He's a bit of 1, 3. I'll say him by name: Hartnell, Pertwee, Baker, Tom Baker, McCoy. He's a little bit of McCoy. Eccleston. Maybe a tiny bit Tennant as well.
And none of Smith.
Yeah, I mean, avoid all of the funny, sort of eccentric, overly. Well, I wouldn't say that Troughton was overly eccentric. I'd say more clownish sort of Doctors.
Capaldi's Doctor tends to have a fashion sense patterned after Pertwee, but and with the hair, the kind of grayish hair, and the hairstyle, it's very reminiscent of my favorite Doctor, Pertwee. But I would say that Capaldi's more of a hybrid between Hartnell and Baker, those two Doctors, because he's a bit crotchety, and he's got more of an eccentric sort of presence, but he's also alien, like Tom Baker, and he's very. I think he's got the presence that Tom Baker has, with being very stoic and very. He's a bit Baker was the bohemian doctor, but he was also very stoic. He could get deadly serious in a moment, like a drop of a hat.
Yeah, that stare. Just look at the stare. It's they feel if I had to describe it, it's like the eyes of a hawk.
Yeah.
Just the way they, with that look alone, it just.
Tom Baker could pull a yo-yo out of his pocket of his coat and be playing with it, and somebody could come in the room and say, "Hey, you better do this, or I'm going to shoot you." And he would just look at them and go, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you." And you took him seriously. That's kind of what Capaldi's like.
Yeah.
That sort of that he's got that sort of. The word is gravitas. He brings that to you respect his presence. You respect the fact that this person is serious. They're not somebody to be taken lightly with things.
Especially in this episode, and we saw that more than ever when we actually saw a little bit more of Time Lord Victorious in this episode, didn't we?
Yes.
Well, the thing is that it was never the kind of Mr. trick in the fact that he was making, well, I wouldn't say him, but my observation of this episode is that there was quite a few tensioning characters in there. I mean, you had Rassilon, as we've already touched upon. You had, in certain respects, Ohila, the leader of the Sisterhood of Khan. She was quite tantrumy at times.
Yeah, that's true.
At the end,
there was a lot of characters that were emphasizing on the fact that the Doctor's literally breaking every possible rule in time and space, including his own rules that he's set down for himself. And the Doctor kind of still remained relatively calm up until certain points, like where he'd suddenly raise his voice and he'd start shouting, and he'd start getting wound up by and stuff that's happening in the episode. And then suddenly you have someone like Ohila coming in saying, "Oh, well, come out of the TARDIS and face me, boy." You know,
Boy.
stuff like that. It's like the sort of tension and the mood and the sort of anger that kept repeatedly being referred to by several characters, and that was being displayed by sometimes in the wrong places by a great amount of characters, was far too inconsistent. It was there like 1 minute and gone the next. It just the sort of emotions was like that of a hormonal teenager going through a very, very serious mood swing.
Yeah. There were some surprising moments, though, this episode, I will say. Because going back from what we were talking, is, I guess, to get information, one of the things that the Doctor did was they found a way to bring Clara back, quote-unquote, alive. They pulled her from a moment in time, like the moment right between her heartbeat, like apparently that last moment that she was alive. So like they said, she has no heartbeat, no pulse. She's only breathing out of habit. I think that was what he said.
Yeah, right.
And she basically he did this. Originally it was what was it? Was he tricking? He was tricking the Time Lords to say that she had information on the hybrid, but in all actuality, it was just a trick so he could rescue her.
Well, she was the hybrid, so it kind of, and I think he clearly knew that, so I think he kind of needed her there, you know. But
then we get one of the surprises of the episode, which is Capaldi taking the General's gun and shooting him.
Which, my favorite line of the whole episode, which regeneration? 10. Good luck to you.
Yeah, there's
the General's been female for most of their regenerations, except for that last one.
Yeah.
Which I find extremely funny. But yeah, technically that's the first regeneration we've ever seen where a male Time Lord is transformed into a woman.
It explained to me, how did she actually go through the regeneration and like pop back up without missing a beat? Like there was no issue at all.
I know that was a bit weird. Like
usually there's like memory loss a little bit, like the side effects from regeneration, but I don't know. Maybe it's different with each Time Lord.
I did like though how they kind of it was quite refreshing to see that they gave, because sort of like the Doctor always seems to regenerate, and if he's around people, when he wakes up, he usually has like a single line of dialogue that is either funny, condescending, or, you know, such like. And when she's the General faced Ohila and said she commented on the sort of ego of the female gender. I can't remember the exact line, unfortunately, but it was sort of a witty line that was kind of like.
I caught that.
Yeah, it felt like something that, like, you know, the Doctor would say after regenerating, if he ever regenerated into a woman. But you know,
actually,
sort of lines.
Actually, now that I think about it, when Romana regenerated, she actually like went through different looks, like someone would take off garments. So, you know, maybe that's not so crazy after all. But maybe somewhere in the whole franchise history, I'm not a fan of like Big Finish. I never really got into those audio dramas or whatever. But I'm a fan of like televised Doctor Who. as far as I know, with the televised episodes, that part of the franchise, it's never really explained why the Doctor had such a hard time with regenerating, with the whole thing with the amnesia and all that.
Well, look at back to when Professor Yana regenerated to John Sims' master. He just popped right back up, and he didn't miss a beat either.
He did. Yeah, that's a good point.
When you think about it, because he had a very first of all, I don't know how he guessed what he was going to be regenerating into, because I think his line was, if the Doctor can be young and strong, then so can I, the Master reborn. And then literally, he's young, he's a stronger man, and I'm like, okay, first of all, fantastic, you get points for guessing that regeneration perfectly, but also with no side effects from regeneration that we've come to know with the Doctor. So which makes me think, is this just specific to the Doctor, these whole memory loss and whatnot?
Well, do you think with him it's more about, it's more indicative of like his personality, where he's all about being a adventurous sort of person, and he's not really wrapped up in the aesthetics of like what he looks like, whether he's youthful. He knows he's going to go through like a myriad of like different sort of like generations of age, like, you know, late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. So he's all about the adventure, not about like really, you know, if he's old or not. Until Matt Smith said something. Didn't Smith say something to Clara like, "Am I old now?" And she said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, you know, crap," or whatever.
Yeah, it was during Deep Breath when she was talking on the phone with him.
Yes.
And he heard Capaldi talking. He goes, "Is that me? I sound old. Don't tell me I am old."
Another line that reminds me, yet another line I really, really liked was Capaldi said something about, "I used to be a lot different. I used to be very, like rude." Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, he said he was rude to people, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I really like that throwback to Hartnell.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was. I was listening to the audiobook, The Dalek Conquest, where they actually play audio from the Doctor's different episodes where he encountered the Daleks, and you did get to hear quite a bit from Hartnell, and I was surprised at how rude he was in some parts. I'm like, yikes. You don't usually hear that nowadays. But
that's true. I mean, like Tennant and Smith, you know, for the most part, we've got like a generation now that's growing up with Tennant and Smith. You know, these young sort of doctors. They're not used to what the series has really been founded upon, which is kind of like a grandfather / older uncle sort of character, until you got to like maybe Baker and definitely Davison. So they're used to having like more of like a Peter Davison sort of Doctor, where it's like the youthful older brother guy.
Yeah. Very but yeah, after that WTF of the Doctor killing someone, my favorite line from the episode when Clara goes, "You just killed that man!" It's like, we're on Gallifrey. Death is like a man flew to the Time Lords. That was good. I liked that. I'm like, literally, death has no meaning to you people. That's amazing. They take Clara to the he takes Clara to the one place which is, what is it, outside the Matrix, right? Or in the
It's basically like, I hasten to say this word, the Nethersphere. It's like a huge database. Underneath Gallifrey, it's known as the Crypt as well. It's basically like the entrance to the Matrix. You know, and we saw loads of old adversaries of the Doctor. We saw Weeping Angels, Daleks, Cybermen. There was even a Maya helmet from the girl who died.
I didn't see the Meyer helmet. I missed that.
It was on the floor. Yeah, it was just thrown rather. Yeah, it was just on the floor really. Just sort of laying there. There was. Yes, that was it, wasn't it? Yeah.
The one thing about this episode that I really like more than anything at all, well, there are two things, actually. One is the fact that we're actually going back. I like the fact that this whole series, it's been around for like 50 plus years now. This is like one of those episodes like Deadly Assassin or Invasion of Time where we go back and remind the viewers of where the Doctor came from as far as his home world. And it adds to the mythology of the character, which I think is great. And the other thing I really loved was actually Jenna Coleman in this. It really kind of saved for me the fact that I was getting kind of tired of Clara, to be honest with you. And I think that barring like the very end scene and some of the circumstances I'm sure we'll get into talking about in a little bit, I really appreciated her role in this episode. I think it was actually really strong. Those two things I think were really top notch.
Yeah, she was sort of like, I don't know, the importance was never really on her to a certain extent where, you know, we'd start getting into Series 8 Clara, where she just dominated the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like she was kind of there to connect to certain points, like with you know, kind of revealing the hybrid and, you know, Gallifrey and stuff. She was sort of there just to kind of get to a certain point in the plot, and then you know, well, as I'm sure we'll touch on in a minute, her eventual sort of
Ending.
ending, yeah. I wouldn't call it a demise because
I like.
she's not dead, so yeah.
Yeah. I like the way that, I guess what I'm alluding to here is, in this episode, I like the fact that they gave Clara a importance to the Doctor that I think is probably as meaningful as any companion he's ever been with, where she actually brought the Doctor back around to having some humanity and not crossing a line. And she's always kind of kept him there, and I really like how they lost their way a little bit, like Connor pointed out a minute ago, with Clara. And I think that they kind of brought the character back around to where Clara really showed the Doctor, like, it kind of got him back on track for things in a way that didn't seem like schlocky or overly, like, soap opera-ish. I think that when I was watching that episode, and I'm like the biggest cynic when I watch like most things, movies, you know, whatever it is, and I actually watched this episode with that in mind, and I actually was really drawn into the fact that they handled this character, the writing of this episode, very well with bringing Clara back and having her not be so like beating people over the head with, like, trying to be overly sentimental about things. I think that the way that they wrote her dialogue didn't seem like it was like a toss-away series of lines. I think that they handled that well.
Well, every line she said felt like it needed to be said.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, while they're there, we do get a little interesting story about the Doctor that he's talking to her while they're trying to look for a secret way out of the Matrix. And we learn about what was it that he says that someone found a secret passage out, ended up appearing on the other side of the city, and What did that person do? Steal the moon and the president's wife?
Yeah, he said this person was stuck in the crypt for 4 days, and when they found the secret passage out, it was he ended up at the end of the other end of the city, and then he started to allude into the fact that this person was then sent like crazy, that they were insane afterwards.
Well, he said they were never quite right in the head.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny.
yeah. Like I actually thought at that point that they were going to say it's the master, because that sort of then adds a sort of explanation as to why he's so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I never really thought of that.
And then Clara then starts to sort of assess the story and then concludes that she's been around this man, the very Time Lord that was telling the story, so long to realize that he's actually talking about himself.
That was the theme of the episode, that stories are memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and during that, I thought that was just really interesting. I'm like, wow, I actually kind of want to see a flashback to where he stole the moon. I kind of want to see how that ended up turning out. Because, come on, tell me you guys wouldn't love to see that reckless kind of doctor just steal the moon, because why the hell not? I would love to see it. And then, when the Time Lords corner Clara and the Doctor, Clara ends up buying the Doctor some time, so that the Doctor can steal a TARDIS, which, classic TARDIS, nice callback, it looks amazing. It's really weird how just white everything looked. It just felt bright, way too bright, but...
It's weird because in the classic series, I think it was particularly in Pertwee's era, the console itself wasn't actually white. It was like a greenish sort of colour. It was like a very, very, very dull sort of greenish colour. And yeah, they kind of, I don't know if they painted it or whatever, but it's sort of kind of modernized itself a bit now in sort of being in sync with the rest of the console room and being quite sleek and white and sort of as like furniture would go, sort of kind of more up to date than just having a random dull coloured green TARDIS console in the middle of an otherwise completely white room. So it was kind of, I would have liked to have seen that sort of colour scheme again because that's classic.
Here's the picture right here. This is actually from the crossover. I know this scene. This is from the crossover episode with the second Doctor.
Yeah, the three Doctors.
The three Doctors. I don't think that looks too much different from what we got, but again, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, at least this had a little bit more color.
Yeah.
But it was still amazing to see a classic TARDIS again.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. It was so weird. It was so weird too because the last time we saw a Doctor from New Who in a classic TARDIS was very much in. And it wasn't even in an episode of Doctor Who. It was in an Adventure in Space and Time, where the actor who plays Hartnell, there was a scene where I guess he looked up from the console and there was Matt Smith at the controls of the TARDIS. A very poetic moment, yeah, but we've never seen like an actual Doctor in an episode from New Who at this old retro retro TARDIS, which I actually like it. The simplicity is where it's at. I actually really like it.
Yeah.
Now, didn't they use the TARDIS console from the Doctor Who experience? Is that correct? I
Yeah.
thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah, they did. It was it was TARDIS that's I think it was the Hartnell version rather than I can't really name any sort of significant differences between the Hartnell and the Pertwee sort of version.
Yeah.
But I think it was the Hartnell version. And yeah, there was some of the Doctor Who experience. And actually, talking about the classic TARDIS, one thing that I did like was how, going a bit further on in the episode when they were at the end of the universe, Clara, as the Doctor would have, as Pertwee, or Joe Grant would have used, or the certain other like Polly, Ben, the second Doctor companions, Jamie. They use the scanner, the screen, to kind of assess, the situation, hear what's going on, see what's going on. That's sort of like, it's something very, very minute, but it kind of, every time there was a TARDIS scene in the classic series, particularly with the first three Doctors, someone would use that screen at some point, to look outside to see what the radiation levels were or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of had a very sort of classic-y, Doctor Who-ish sort of a bit of a trope, I'd say, in a way.
Yeah, it's at this point actually when the Doctor steals the TARDIS and spirits Clara away to like the end of the universe, give or take 5 minutes. We find out the horrible, horrible truth is that Clara is not really still alive. She's still trapped between those two heartbeats, no matter how far away from Gallifrey they get.
Yeah.
Because of her death being a very fixed point in history, they cannot be rewritten. They can't be changed. And what I find really interesting is that very much like what the end of time, how I don't know why, maybe it's just me stretching, I don't know why, but I got this feeling when they landed at the end of the universe, and they said about, the Doctor was talking about how he broke all of these rules, someone knocked on the door 4 times.
Yeah.
And when did the 10th Doctor's story start to end? It was right after the Waters of Mars, where he broke the one rule that was probably the most sacred to Time Lords.
Yeah.
And it seems, I wonder if that's, I don't know if that was intentional, probably was, but I liked that. That was a nice little callback. Whether intentional or not, I actually liked it.
Yeah.
Time Lord Victorious came back. I'm so happy for that. But as with everything, it had consequences. So yeah, the Doctor arrives at the end of the universe, and who should be there but probably one of the most hated characters from this season.
Well, on the flip side, I actually think that Ashilda has been one of the better written characters of New Who.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying, I guarantee you every single fan hates her right now, probably.
Yeah, well, yeah, because of what happened to Clara. Yeah. But, I think, not just because Maisie Williams is playing her, but, if anyone played her, I think that it would have, the character would have still been the same. She's, very, very, very well-written character. She's, as I said on a Friends show a few weeks ago that I think David was on, she sort of had an emotional development throughout what will now be all of her 4 appearances. She's gone from being the happy sort of homely
Viking
girl to tortured, adventurous sort of girl in the 1700s to someone that has a bit of authority and power in the world now, in it being in charge of a alien refugee camp, to being the last living being at the end of time, or the end of the universe, whatever. She's sort of changed in each of her 4 performances, each of her 4 appearances, and I think that, like, the way that she's been written, and there's been a certain amount of attention given to her character, a bit like Missy last year, where they sort of there was sort of an emphasis on the character in a way, and I just think that she's been exceptional in all 4 of her episodes.
Oh,
and, the sort of interesting dynamic in this episode was that I always had in the back of my mind that theoretically Ashilda was now older than the Doctor. So, like, I cannot think of someone that we've seen on screen in the entire history of the show that's been older than the Doctor, and in some cases actually had more experience in danger, in adventure than he has. And I think if she doesn't beat him, particularly in terms of experience, she comes very close. So there was sort of that there, like I think Ashilda kind of had the Doctor's number now. She understood him. She knew everything about him. She was sort of like, if it turned out that the situation was worse and she turned out to be pretty evil, I think she would have been a very, very, very serious threat to the Doctor. But I thought that I really the scene where she's in the reality bubble at the end of the universe, sort of like that particular scene, that conversation, with Clara and the TARDIS between the Doctor and Ashilda, and the hybrid the hybrid storyline sort of half-assedly being solved. I thought that was probably my favourite bit of the episode.
Yeah, it was very clumsy the way they solved that hybrid story. Though I kind of wanted it to be Missy at the end of the universe, though, waiting for the Doctor.
Well, you see, when there was the reference, I'm trying to remember the exact words.
The Master.
I think it was Ashilda asked the Doctor, who put both of you together, the hybrid together.
Missy.
Yeah, and like sort of in sync, the Doctor and Clara said Missy, and then quite weirdly, Ashilda knows who Missy is and started going on about how she's the lover of chaos. Sort of like having someone that with the sort of presence as Michelle Gomez does as Missy, just having her sort of wade in that scene and just sort of kind of present herself to be there as well, without any indication that she was in the episode at all. That would have been very nice, and it would have sort of brought an end the storyline in terms of like how she and she put the Doctor and Clara together, which hasn't really been explained fully to this point. Just sort of having her there, like, might have been more suitable than Ashilda, but having Ashilda there as well, was good. If it was both of them together with the Doctor and Clara, that would have been even better. I just thought, I kind of felt that after that particular reference and the way that it kind of set up a possible shock moment when Missy returns, if she did, so that was sort of a missed opportunity in my mind.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. But then I think this is kind of that point where you go from the 2/3 that we liked to the third that was okay. And
Yeah.
mostly that's because of the resolution. Anyone who's seen the end to Series 4, we know how that ended. I'll put this in the simplest terms for you, reverse that. That's what happened. What happened was that the Doctor's plan to save Clara was to completely wipe her memory of him. And actually, I believe they made reference to what happened with Donna with that.
Yeah.
But he was going with a different way this time of going about it that would be painless to Clara. And Clara was spying on them the entire time, listening to this conversation from inside the TARDIS. And there's this whole thing where I love the whole, like, where she says she reversed the polarity. That was actually kind of funny. That's got to be the most overused term in Doctor Who right there. Just saying. But there's this moment where they both use this memory wiping device, and they don't know who it's going to affect. All that the Doctor knows is one of them needs to go, and one of them is going to have no memory of the other. And right when you think it's going to happen to Clara, it's the Doctor that ends up losing all memories of Clara, and ends up telling her all the things that all the things he's told her before.
Yeah.
To remember, and also wanting her to smile, which was impossible because, she was kind of bawling her eyes out at that point. Because much as Clara made that huge speech about her memories, her past being her own, and she has a right to that, I think we all knew she would rather have lost her memories than have the Doctor lose his.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, when the Doctor wakes up, we get to probably the most polarizing point of the episode is he wakes up in the U.S., which we haven't been there since Series 6, which was funny. And the Doctor basically, at the beginning he walked into this diner, the same diner from Series 6, The Impossible Astronaut, that River, Amy, Rory, and the Doctor met in during that time. Same diner. And he's been talking to this waitress who looks like Clara and telling her this entire story. We find out not only is that waitress Clara, but the diner is a TARDIS. The diner is a TARDIS. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the moment where I think a good episode really just jumped the shark.
Well, do you know what? A bit that it's not a very significant bit that we've missed out, but the bit when he was talking to that man shortly after he woke up, like, I have nothing wrong with the actor that they've chosen for this man, but this man was very clearly a homosexual. Just the fact that they'd have this there. He was dressed a bit like a sort of blue Super Mario, in a way. Just having some sort of random...
It's me! Woohoo!
Yeah, just having some sort of random homosexual Super Mario-esque dressed man come up to the Doctor and say that Clara sort of asked that man to look after the Doctor. It just felt rather strange to me.
It felt really strange that they entrust the Doctor to a complete stranger, but whatever.
That it would have been good actually if he became the companion. If that was sort of just a sudden.
That would be really funny. You just
man.
watch. Moffat's taking notes, and he'll be like, you know what? I'm just gonna screw all over all these people's minds. I'm gonna make him the companion next. I'm just gonna tell everyone we don't know who it is, just to screw with them some more.
Yeah.
Cause I think we got trolled so hard with this ending. We did.
Yeah, we did to a certain extent. Yes, I thought that like they. Right, I knew it was coming because I got tipped off by a person, but just the whole, just like it felt like it was written where originally they weren't going to do that, they changed it, and like Moffat paid for the CGI, the effects to be done for himself, just to see just how ridiculous he could make an American diner flying through space rather randomly. Look, because I'll say there was nothing more ridiculous than that final shot when
Yes.
you saw the TARDIS sort of go off on a certain angle, and then you saw the diner just suddenly shoot across the screen, spinning around like it was something out of fucking, Futurama or some shit.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Moffat might have been going for like some sort of like sorrow of separation between like the Doctor and Clara at that point with two different TARDISes. I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I mean, that was kind of like, yeah. I mean, like 2/3 of this episode I liked, but when it got to like the last like 5 or 6 minutes of that episode, it got a little bit schlocky. I thought the way that they ended things, like you're saying with the TARDIS and then the diner flying off in different directions. I mean, it's like, come on.
I mean, I don't normally have a problem with CGI because usually I'm so fucking dumb that I don't notice when it's bad CGI. But
Yeah.
like seeing the diner just flying through space
Yeah.
is what the fuck is this?
It really felt like the episode had a really good theme going and a really good like feel, and then right as soon as that happened, it just felt like an entirely different thing, an entirely different show.
It looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it lightly.
Well, the one line I really liked, though, was when Clara said something, she referenced the chameleon circuit, saying something about she was reading about that or something.
Yeah.
And, that was kind of a cool, like, nod to the whole series about the fact that the Doctor's TARDIS has always had a stuck chameleon circuit. But, like you're saying, like, the whole thing about having a diner flying through space and then the TARDIS flying off the other direction, I mean, that's... I mean, it's not like a... it's not something... I mean, like, I just literally watched this, like, about 2 hours ago for the first time. So much of the episode I really loved, but I'm still kind of stuck with, like, the very end of that episode, and like Moffat stated, it's going to be divisive on the fan base as far as, like, the whole thing about Clara having her own TARDIS, and I can kind of appreciate where Moffat's trying to kind of take the series and do new things with stuff, but I don't know if it's the classic Who purist in me that kind of draws back from, like, the whole thing about having a TARDIS being a diner flying through space, but that seemed a little bit really kind of schlocky to me. It really did. I mean...
Yeah, it was, like, overly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did.
But, I mean, like, the preview that I saw for, like, the Christmas special really, really looked like crap.
I was hoping we wouldn't have to talk about that. Yeah, I'm actually appalled by how shite that Christmas special looks. It looks like it's got no redeeming features, unfortunately.
Well, I think after this heavy, I think when it's meant to be lighthearted, and considering the fact that, to be honest, these last couple of episodes have been pretty heavy in terms of emotional moments.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yes.
Apart from the ridiculousness of a flying diner, I mean, seriously, who thought that was a good idea? I think this is meant to be, the Christmas special is meant to be a way for us to relax and get back into something nonsensical and, a little ridiculous. And with River, when have we actually had time to sit back and just enjoy her and the Doctor being absolutely ridiculous together?
Far too much.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a reset button for the series. Like you're saying, like a, sit back, relax, kind of like a light episode, whatever. But I don't really expect too much out of this Christmas episode.
I don't think we should, but
at all.
I don't think we should, and you know what? I think they'll surprise us. They'll put in something that we won't expect, but I'm like, when I watch the Christmas special this year, I'm gonna be looking at it as something fun, something, again, like you said, Mike, very lighthearted. And I think when you look at it that way, we won't have as much of a problem with it.
I mean, really, how many Christmas specials have been great? Like Tenet.
Waters of Mars was good. Wasn't that a Christmas special?
No, I'd say two, to my mind. Voyage of the Damned and Last Christmas.
Well, what about End of Time?
Oh, End of Time, yeah.
It's like the big one.
I have problems with that. I don't know, I just have problems with it.
A couple people have problems with the End of Time. I keep the big 10th Doctor haters actually like to reference the End of Time, saying that the Doctor is like really the biggest complaint against Tennant is that he keeps flip-flopping personalities a lot, from being very serious to this pretty energetic and joyful person, and he doesn't feel like the Doctor apart from like 15 minutes in the End of Time Part 2. But I do agree. I like the End of Time, but my personal favorite, though, I actually do like the Last Voyage was pretty good.
I loved End of Time.
Oh, what was it? Not Last Voyage.
Voyage of the Damned.
Voyage of the Damned. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm tired here, so I'm getting episodes wrong. That actually, you know what? That's embarrassing. I'm just gonna slap myself real quick. All right, here we go.
Well, with End of Time, I mean, we had like a great performance by the actor that played Wilf. Wilf is like my favorite companion in New Who. That was fantastic. And
so
I
many
mean,
good moments.
Yeah, I mean, Wilf is great, and I mean, Tennant, is there anyone who really hates Tennant? I'm kind of surprised by that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can give you one person on YouTube who really doesn't like Tennant. That's Mr. TARDIS Reviews. Not that the guy at all, but he's one of the more vocal people who doesn't like Tennant. He is more of a Matt Smith fan. And to be honest, I don't understand his criticisms again.
Well, wait a minute. He likes. That's what I was about to ask you. He likes Smith, but he doesn't like Tennant. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, we're not hating here. I'm just saying, to be honest.
Well, I may be hating, actually.
Who we're referring to? Sorry, my ears just switched off then.
Matt Smith over Tennant? What?
Are we referring to someone in particular?
Yeah.
You said Mr. TARDIS, whoever that is.
Oh yeah, Mr. TARDIS Reviews, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is. So.
he counted down some of his favorite Doctor Who episodes, and I think one time he referred to, what was it, Midnight, I believe.
This is a guy who said that a 5-minute minisode didn't have much of a plot, so please don't take his.
Oh, I used to when I first got started into Doctor Who, I listened to him, but then I realized he quickly became irrelevant. But not hating, just I differ opinions from Mr. TARDIS, so yeah, we differ in opinions greatly that on many subjects.
Well, that's all right. I mean, he could be completely embarrassingly wrong about Doctor Who, and that's fine. I mean, we can respect the fact that he wants to be kind of looked upon as being kind of like, I guess, an idiot in this community, liking Smith over Tennant. But I mean, that's his choice, I guess.
Well, that's his choice. Personally, I think David Tennant is just. I think it's. He feels. I feel like when Matt Smith gets angry, it's like a little puppy that gets angry. It's like you look at it and you don't really take it very seriously. When Tennant got angry, you honestly felt like, oh, okay, let's not piss this guy off.
Well, Tennant, like, when he got angry, like you're saying, you could actually see, like, behind his eyes, the fire going on there, and you took him seriously.
Yeah.
Matt Smith, when he threatened people, it's like, you're waiting for someone to be like, dude, like, seriously, like, shut the fuck up. I mean, come on, man.
Here, have an ice cream, just sit down.
Yeah.
It's okay, honey, it's okay.
Honey.
I expect River to be right next to him. It's okay, sweetie. Here, here's an ice cream. Sit down. But yeah, it's. I never could take Matt Smith seriously, especially when he was attempting. Keyword is attempting to get angry. Like especially when, like, look when he started during what was it? Oh, what was that Dalek episode in World War II? What was that one? Victory of the Daleks.
Yes.
Victory of the Daleks, where he's smashing the wrench against the Dalek and just screaming at the top of his lungs. I was laughing that entire time.
Yeah, it's like a temper tantrum from a child.
Though, to be honest, with the idiocy from a lot of people in the room,
yeah.
I can totally understand that reaction.
Well, I mean, Smith's doctor kind of reminds me of somebody that I know that it's kind of like, you know, like you can't take their threats seriously, and, you know, it's kind of like you laugh it off, and it's kind of like the guy who always wants to act tough back in, like, school and shit, you know, like they're like, oh, I'm going to kick this guy's ass or whatever. They're full of crap, and they act with bravado, and you're kind of like, dude, like, sit down and shut up. Like, no one takes you seriously. Like, every time I see Matt Smith, it reminds me of somebody I know in the podcasting community. And I really like to like Smith. And I do on a lot of levels, but on some, when it comes to, like, threats and, like, trying to act like some sort of poser tough guy, it's kind of like, you really... Everyone around them does not take them seriously as a threat, and it's the same thing with Matt Smith. I just have a hard time taking him seriously as a threat. It's like a little kid trying to act tough. You know, it's like, you know, dude, like, you know, really shut up. I mean, like, look at Smith. We have Smith, and then we got Capaldi. You know, Capaldi, you actually take that guy seriously. You know, the guy... You know, he looks at you and he's giving you a look of, like, you know, bring it. But, like, Matt Smith, he's like a little pawnce. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the finale though of series 9. Aside from ramblings,
Yeah.
we like to ramble, though. I think, though, anyone who's watched my channel knows I like to ramble, so really that's nothing new. But
So, David, what rating do you give this episode? What do you think about this?
As a two-parter for a whole, I would definitely give it. I give it a 9. I would.
All right,
As a
Connor.
two-parter in general.
I'd give like Heaven Sent. I'd actually give it a 10 out of 10 because like, I can't think of a flaw with it. But like Hellbent, I'd have to give like a very, very low 7. Maybe even going into a 6. I don't know. There's like certain aspects of it that is very, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Very in sync with what this series has particularly. But there's certain ridiculous parts and parts that just sort of fizzled out. Just didn't provide a satisfying enough ending to warrant anything higher than a 7.
Yeah, I can see that. This
Oh,
season.
yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe me giving it a 9 was too generous. Now I look like an idiot. Wow.
No. Come on. Yeah.
Well, shit. Yeah. That though. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm judging too much based on Heaven Sent because Heaven Sent was actually pretty damn good. Oh, that was way too good. Yeah, Connor's right on this one now.
Well, this season has been great.
Oh yeah,
I think.
definitely an improvement.
Yes.
I can legitimately think of 4 9 out of 10s and 1 10 out of 10, which I've just literally talked about this series, and I can't think of a series that has that from memory.
Yeah.
So what are your 10 out of 10s?
Well, my only 10 out of 10 is Heaven Sent, but like my 9 out of 10s is like The Witch is Familiar, Under the Lake.
Oh, you're talking about this season, this series.
Yeah, this season in general.
Oh, okay.
Like I'd say like my 9 out of 10s was Witch is Familiar, Under the Lake, the Zygon inversion due to that speech at the end, which is like a standout part of the entire show's history as well as the series, and then I'd say probably Face the Raven as well.
Yeah.
Is a 9 out of 10, and I'd say that's about it.
This season enforces. You guys remember back when I think this series was starting, I said that every Doctor's for New Who, their second season is always vastly superior to their first. It was that for Tennant with Series 3. It was for Smith with Series 6, and it's the same for Capaldi with Series 9.
Well, that goes to question, what could we have seen with Eccleston
Oh,
if he had
God.
season 2?
We could have had something beautiful. We could have. We really could have. So, only way we can look is forward now.
Yeah, and I love this season. I think that Capaldi has been a great turn in the character of the Doctor from Smith. I think that the writing has gotten a little bit more on point to being a mesh with the classic series and where they're trying to go with progressive writing with the franchise as a whole. And I gotta tell you, I was impressed with this episode. 2/3 of it. Maybe even more so. It was only really like the last 10 minutes or so that I had an issue with the episode today that we had, the last episode of this series. But the previous episode, I think, was great. It's good to see the Doctor kind of getting back on his own 2 feet with things. And I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen after the Christmas special with what we have in store for the Doctor with a new companion and how Capaldi's going to reflect what's going to be going on with his new companion. And I'm actually a bit excited about seeing that. So
Yeah. So
Yeah, same here. Well, on that note, it is getting late here, and we pretty much wrapped up everything we need to tell. So thank you guys so much for watching. Mike, Connor, thank you so much for joining me. As I've said before, you both are welcome on here anytime.
yeah, thank you, David.
Yeah, guys, these two are some really great friends of mine, and hopefully we'll see them on at a later date. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like this video and leave a comment for anything else you would like us to talk about in the future, now that Doctor Who is maybe over. Though I think we could do one probably for the Christmas special. We'll probably just fool around and do a Christmas special one, but who knows. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Take care, and I'll see you later.